Welcome to Calm Mind English. Some nights feel strange because nothing serious is happening, but your mind still feels full. The room is quiet. Your body is sitting still. No one is asking you to solve anything right now. But inside, it feels as if many small doors are open at the same time. You may look calm from the outside. Maybe you are sitting on the couch, holding your phone, looking at the same screen without really reading it. Maybe the TV is on, but the sound feels far away. Your hands are still, your face is calm, but your thoughts keep moving. This kind of mental busyness can feel confusing. When there is a real problem, it makes sense to feel tense. When there is a deadline, a conflict, or an emergency, you understand why your mind is active. But when nothing is happening, the noise inside can feel harder to explain. You might think, why am I tired when my day was not that bad? Why do I feel pressure when there is no clear reason? Why does my mind keep jumping from one thought to another, even when I finally have time to rest? This is one of the quiet struggles many people carry. It is not always loud. It does not always look serious. It often happens in normal moments, after dinner, before sleep, during a quiet afternoon, or while waiting in the car. The outside world slows down, but the inside world keeps running. Imagine sitting in your living room at night. The lights are low. There is no meeting to attend, no message you must answer right away, no place you have to go. Still, your mind begins to search. It remembers something you said earlier. It wonders if tomorrow will be difficult. It thinks about money, work, family, health, old plans, future plans, and small things you forgot to do. None of these thoughts may be huge by themselves, but together they create a crowded feeling. It is like having many quiet tabs open in your mind. Each one uses a little energy. One tab says, you should reply to that message. Another says, you need to organize that drawer. Another says, maybe you are falling behind. Another says, what if you are not doing enough? The mind does not always separate big problems from small signals. Sometimes it treats every unfinished thought as something that needs attention. A tiny concern can sit beside a serious worry. A small task can feel heavier than it should, because it joins a long line of other unfinished things. This is why a calm evening can still feel mentally loud. The problem is not always the moment itself. Sometimes the moment is simply quiet enough for you to hear everything that has been waiting inside you. During the day, you may keep moving. You work, answer people, drive, cook, clean, take care of others. Check your phone and move from one task to another. While you are busy, your mind may not have enough space to fully process what it is carrying. It stores things quickly. It says, I will think about this later. Then later comes. Later is often when you finally sit down. Later is when the room becomes still. Later is when no one needs you for a few minutes. And then the mind opens the storage room. It brings out all the small things you pushed aside, not because you wanted to suffer, but because your brain is trying to finish what was left open. This can make rest feel uncomfortable. You expected peace, but you meet noise. You expected relief, but your mind starts sorting, replaying, predicting, and checking. You may even reach for your phone again, not because you truly want more information, but because silence feels too full. There is a simple difference between doing nothing and feeling settled. Doing nothing means your body has stopped. Feeling settled means your mind has also received a signal that it is safe to slow down. Many people stop physically, but their mind does not receive that signal. So they are resting on the outside while still working on the inside. This does not mean something is wrong with you. It means your mind has learned to stay alert. It has learned to watch for what might happen next. It has learned to prepare, compare, review, and protect. These habits may have helped you in stressful seasons, but when they continue during quiet moments, they can make ordinary rest feel heavy. Mental busyness often begins with small, unfinished loops. A loop is anything your mind keeps returning to because it feels incomplete. It might be a conversation that ended awkwardly. It might be a decision you have not made. It might be a task that has no clear time. It might be a feeling you did not have space to understand. For example, maybe someone replied to you in a short tone during the day. At the time, you moved on because you had other things to do. But later, your mind returns to it. It asks, were they upset? Did I say something wrong? Should I have answered differently? The event is small, but the loop stays open. Or maybe you have a form to complete, a bill to check, an appointment to book, or a room to clean. None of these are emergencies. But because they are not clearly finished or scheduled, they float around in the background. Your mind keeps touching them, just to make sure you have not forgotten. This is why the phrase "nothing is happening" can be misleading. Nothing may be happening outside, but many things may be unfinished inside. Your mind is not only reacting to the present room, it is also reacting to yesterday's pressure, tomorrow's uncertainty, and all the small promises you made to yourself. A busy mind can also come from emotional leftovers. These are feelings that remain after the event is over. You may have smiled through a difficult conversation. You may have stayed polite when you were frustrated. You may have kept working when you were disappointed. Later, when everything becomes quiet, the feeling begins to rise because it finally has space. In daily life, many people do not have a clean ending to their day. Work ends, but the mind keeps working. Messages stop, but the expectation remains. The body comes home, but the attention stays divided. So the evening becomes a strange middle place. You are no longer fully active, but you are not fully at rest. This middle place can feel like mental clutter. You are not focused on one clear problem. You are surrounded by many half-thoughts. You may walk into another room and forget why you went there. You may open your phone and close it. You may try to relax, then suddenly remember something from 2 weeks ago. When this happens, people often blame themselves. They say they are too sensitive, too distracted, too weak, or too negative. But blame usually adds another layer of noise. Now the mind is not only busy, it is also judging itself for being busy. A more useful way to see it is this. Your mind is asking for order. It is trying to put scattered pieces into some kind of shape. The problem is that it often does this at the wrong time, in the wrong way, with too many pieces at once. Think about a table covered with papers. If there are only 2 papers, it is easy to know what to do. But if the table has bills, notes, receipts, letters, reminders, and random objects, your eyes do not know where to land. Even if none of the papers are dangerous, the table feels heavy because everything is visible at the same time. The mind can become like that table. Too many visible pieces, too many small signals, too many open questions. And because the mind cannot physically close a drawer, it keeps everything in awareness, hoping that attention will somehow create control. This is one reason why quiet time can feel less peaceful than expected. Peace is not only the absence of noise outside. Peace also needs a sense of inner completion, or at least a sense that unfinished things have a place to go. Without that, silence can become a room where every thought speaks at once. But mental busyness is not always a sign that you need to fix your whole life. Sometimes it means you need to lower the number of open loops. Sometimes it means you need a clearer ending to the day. Sometimes it means your mind has been carrying small things for too long without a simple place to put them. You do not have to empty your mind completely. That goal often creates more pressure. A human mind is made to think, notice, remember, and prepare. The aim is not to become blank. The aim is to help the mind feel less crowded. A quiet first step is to notice the difference between a true problem and a loose thought. A true problem usually needs a decision, a conversation, or an action. A loose thought only asks to be acknowledged and placed somewhere. When you treat every loose thought like an emergency, your mind becomes tired. When you give it a place, it often becomes softer. For example, if your mind says, I need to reply to that message, you can write it down for tomorrow. If it says, I am worried about that appointment, you can note the time and what you need to bring. If it says, I feel strange about that conversation, you can name the feeling without solving the whole relationship tonight. This is not about perfect organization. It is about giving your mind evidence that it does not need to hold everything at once. The mind often stays busy because it does not trust that important things are stored safely. A simple note, a short list, or a clear plan can tell the brain, this is not forgotten. Still, the first chapter of this story is not about techniques. It is about understanding the experience. When your mind feels busy while nothing is happening, you are not imagining it. There may be no visible crisis, but there may be many invisible signals asking for attention. You may be sitting in a quiet room, but your mind is still connected to the day. It is connected to people, responsibilities, memories, plans, and small fears. It is connected to all the moments when you had to keep going before you had time to process what you felt. When you see it this way, the busy mind becomes less mysterious. It is not random noise. It is a collection of unfinished signals. Some are practical, some are emotional, some are old habits of alertness, some are just mental dust from a day filled with too much input. And once you understand that, you can stop fighting the noise as if it is an enemy. You can begin to listen for what kind of noise it is. Is it a task? Is it a worry? Is it a feeling? Is it a memory? Is it your body still moving at the speed of the day? This gentle attention changes the way you respond. Instead of saying, why can't I relax? You can say, my mind is still sorting. Instead of saying, nothing is wrong with my life, so I should feel peaceful, you can say, quiet outside does not always mean quiet inside. The inner system may need time to come down. Tonight, if your mind feels full in a still room, try not to measure your peace by how empty your thoughts are. A calmer mind often begins with recognition. You notice the crowd inside without joining every conversation. You let the room stay quiet. You let the thoughts show themselves one by one. There is no need to solve the whole mind in one evening. For now, it is enough to understand that mental busyness has a reason. Even when nothing is happening, your mind may be carrying many small, unfinished things. And seeing that clearly is the first step toward making the inside feel less crowded. A busy mind often looks like a thinking problem, but many times it is an unfinished feeling problem. You may believe your brain is only trying to solve tasks. You may think it is busy because you have too much to do, too many plans, or too many responsibilities. Those things can be part of it, but they are not always the deepest reason. Sometimes the mind stays active because something inside you has not been emotionally completed. This can happen after a very normal day. Nothing terrible happened. No one shouted. No major problem appeared. But maybe there was a small moment that did not feel right. Someone replied with a short message. A coworker looked tired when speaking to you. A friend did not respond the way you expected. You made a small mistake and nobody mentioned it, but you noticed. During the day, you move past it. You tell yourself it is nothing. You keep working. You answer the next message, make food, drive home, clean something, or take care of your family. But the mind remembers the feeling. Later, when the room becomes quiet, that feeling returns in the form of thought. It may not say, I felt uncertain. It may say, did I do something wrong? It may not say, I felt ignored. It may say, why did they answer like that? This is one reason the mind feels busy when nothing is happening. It is not always thinking about the present moment. It is trying to understand emotional tension that was not fully processed when it happened. The mind does this because uncertainty feels unfinished. A clear problem can sometimes be easier to handle than a vague feeling. If the problem is clear, you can decide what to do. If the feeling is vague, the mind keeps circling around it, trying to find a shape. Imagine you hear a quiet sound in another room. If you know it is the fridge, you ignore it. If you do not know what it is, you keep listening. The sound may be small, but the uncertainty makes it hard to let go. Emotional uncertainty works in a similar way. A small look, a short sentence, a delayed reply, or a tiny change in someone's tone can become louder inside your mind because it does not have a clear meaning yet. The brain starts to search for an explanation. Maybe they are upset. Maybe I said too much. Maybe I should have handled it differently. Maybe something is wrong. The thoughts multiply because the feeling underneath has not been named. This does not mean every small interaction needs deep analysis. Most of them do not. But the mind often tries to protect you by checking social risk. It wants to know if you are safe with people, safe at work, safe in your relationships, and safe in your place in the world. For human beings, connection matters. Belonging matters. Being accepted matters. So the brain pays attention to signals from other people, even when the signals are unclear. That is why a tiny conversation can follow you for hours. You may be washing dishes and suddenly remember how someone said your name. You may be brushing your teeth and replay a meeting. You may be trying to sleep and hear the same sentence again in your head. The sentence itself may be ordinary, but the feeling attached to it is still open. A busy mind is often full of these open emotional loops. They are not always dramatic enough to make you stop your day, but they are strong enough to remain active in the background. There is also another hidden cause. The mind may be trying to prevent future discomfort. When you feel uncertain, your brain may begin rehearsing. It imagines what you should say next time. It creates possible conversations. It prepares answers to questions no one has asked yet. This can feel useful at first. Preparation gives the mind a sense of control. If I think about every possible outcome, maybe I will not be surprised. If I replay every detail, maybe I will understand what I missed. But this kind of mental rehearsal can become endless, because life does not give perfect certainty. You cannot know every future response. You cannot control every interpretation. You cannot prepare for every small emotional shift. So the mind keeps working without reaching an ending. This is why you can feel tired after doing nothing. You were not doing physical work, but you were rehearsing, predicting, reviewing, and protecting yourself internally. The mind also becomes busy when your standards for yourself are too tight. You may not notice this as pressure because it sounds reasonable in your head. I should be more organized. I should be calmer. I should not make mistakes. I should know what I am doing. I should be further ahead by now. Each sentence may sound like self-improvement, but when these thoughts repeat all day, the mind becomes a place of constant evaluation. Even rest becomes something you measure. You sit down, but part of you is checking whether you deserve to sit down. You try to relax, but part of you is asking if you have done enough. You finish one task, but another part of your mind points to what is still missing. This creates inner noise because the mind never receives a full signal of completion. It is like trying to leave a room, while someone keeps calling your name from behind you. You take one step toward rest, and the inner voice says, "Wait, there is more." Over time, this can make calm feel unfamiliar. When nothing is happening, the mind may not know what to do with the space. It begins to fill the space with checking the past, checking the future, checking your performance, checking other people's reactions, checking whether you are falling behind. This is not a peaceful kind of thinking. It is a scanning habit. The hidden cause is often not that your life is too loud in that moment. It is that your mind has learned to treat quiet as a place where unfinished concerns come forward. For some people, this pattern started early. They learned to pay close attention to mood, tone, and small changes around them. Maybe they had to be careful at home. Maybe they were often judged. Maybe they learned that mistakes created stress, so they became skilled at predicting problems before they happened. That skill may have helped them before. It may have made them responsible, careful, and aware. But later, the same skill can become tiring. The mind keeps watching even when the danger is not there. It keeps preparing even when no one is asking. It keeps reviewing even when the day is already over. This is why it is important to meet a busy mind with honesty. You do not need to attack it. You also do not need to obey every thought it creates. You can ask a simpler question. What feeling is this thought trying to protect? Maybe behind the thought about tomorrow is fear of being unprepared. Maybe behind the replay of a conversation is a need for reassurance. Maybe behind the pressure to do more is a fear that you are not safe, unless you are useful. Maybe behind the constant planning is discomfort with uncertainty. When you find the feeling, the thought often becomes less powerful. It does not always disappear right away, but it becomes more understandable. Instead of being trapped inside the sentence, you begin to hear the need underneath it. The mind says, think about this again. The feeling says, I want to feel safe. The mind says, plan everything. The feeling says, I do not want to be caught off guard. The mind says, replay that conversation. The feeling says, I want to know that I am still accepted. When you listen this way, you are not feeding overthinking. You are translating it. A busy mind often speaks in tasks, warnings, and questions. But underneath, it may be carrying ordinary human needs. Safety, belonging, clarity, permission to rest, confidence that one unfinished thing does not mean everything is falling apart. The goal is not to analyze yourself forever. That would only create another loop. The goal is to notice the difference between a real problem that needs action and an emotional signal that needs care. A real problem may need a note, a plan, a conversation, or a decision. An emotional signal may need naming. This feels uncomfortable. I felt uncertain there. I am tired of guessing. I am afraid I disappointed someone. I do not know what will happen, and my mind is trying to control it. A named feeling becomes less shapeless. It may still be present, but it no longer needs to turn into 10 different thoughts just to be noticed. This is why writing one simple sentence can sometimes calm the mind, more than thinking for another hour. The sentence gives the feeling a place to land. Not a perfect solution, just a place. The mind becomes busiest when everything has to stay inside. Every unfinished task, every unclear feeling, every future possibility, every quiet fear. When there is no external place for them, your attention becomes the storage room. And a storage room cannot also be a resting room. So when your mind feels busy in a quiet moment, consider that it may not be asking for more thinking. It may be asking for recognition. Something felt unfinished. Something felt uncertain. Something felt too open. The mind kept moving because it was trying to close what did not feel closed. You do not have to solve your whole life in that moment. You can start by naming the one thing that seems loudest. You can place it in a note. You can decide whether it needs action now, action later, or simply compassion. A quiet mind is not created by winning every argument inside your head. It often begins when the hidden feeling no longer has to disguise itself as endless thought. A quiet room can feel strange after a long day. The noise outside may be gone. The people may be gone. The work may be finished for now. But inside your body, the day may still be continuing. This is one reason your mind can feel busy when nothing is happening. Your brain may understand that the day is over, but your nervous system may not agree yet. The nervous system does not switch states like a light. It does not go from pressure to peace in 1 second. It changes slowly through signals from your body, your environment, your breathing, your muscles, and your sense of safety. After a stressful day, your body may still be holding the shape of effort. Your shoulders may stay slightly lifted. Your jaw may stay tight. Your eyes may keep searching. Your hands may reach for something before you even know what you want. This physical alertness sends information back to the brain. The brain listens to the body more than most people realize. When the body is tense, the brain often assumes there must be something to handle. So it begins to search. It looks for a reason. It checks memories, plans, mistakes, messages, money, work, family, health, and tomorrow. The mind becomes busy because the body is still prepared. This is not weakness. It is a survival system doing its job a little too long. During the day, stress hormones help you stay awake and responsive. They help you answer quickly, move quickly, decide quickly, and notice possible problems. In the right moment, this is useful. You need energy to deal with life. But when the pressure ends, those chemicals do not disappear immediately. Cortisol, adrenaline, and other stress responses can leave the body in a state of readiness. You may be sitting in silence, but your system may still be acting as if a task is coming. The body is waiting for the next instruction. So the mind keeps producing instructions. Check this. Fix that. Think about tomorrow. Review what happened. Prepare for a possible problem. Do not miss anything. Even if nothing is happening, the body may still be asking the mind to stay awake. This is why rest can sometimes feel uncomfortable. Rest gives the mind space. But if the body is still activated, that space can quickly fill with thoughts. The quiet room does not create the busyness. It simply makes the busyness easier to hear. During the day, movement and responsibility can cover it. You answer emails. You drive. You cook. You talk. You clean. You solve one thing after another. Then night comes. The room becomes still. The screen gets dim. The house becomes quieter. And suddenly the thoughts become louder. It may feel like your mind became busy for no reason. But often, the reason was already there. It was just hidden under activity. The nervous system was carrying unfinished energy. Think of a car that has been driving fast for hours. Even after it stops, the engine is still hot. The metal still holds heat. The sound may be gone, but the machine has not fully cooled. Your body can be like that. You can finish work, close the laptop, and sit down. But your muscles may still remember the hurry. Your stomach may still carry tension. Your chest may still feel slightly tight. Your brain may still expect another demand. The mind tries to explain this physical state. If the body feels alarmed, the mind looks for danger. If the body feels rushed, the mind looks for deadlines. If the body feels tight, the mind looks for problems. Sometimes the problem is not a thought. Sometimes the thought is the result of a body that has not yet settled. This changes how you understand mental busyness. You do not always need to argue with every thought. You do not always need to solve every worry. Sometimes you need to help the body understand that the active part of the day is finished. This can be done in simple ways, not perfect ways, not dramatic ways, simple physical signals. Turning down the lights can help the brain understand that the day is closing. Lower light tells the body that it no longer needs to stay highly alert. It is a small environmental message, but the nervous system receives it. Slowing your movements can also help. When you move quickly at night, the body may think the pressure is continuing. When you walk more slowly, wash dishes more slowly, or change clothes more slowly, you give your system a different rhythm. Warmth can help too. A warm shower, a blanket, or a warm drink can tell the body that it does not need to defend itself. Warmth softens the muscles. Soft muscles send quieter signals to the brain. The goal is not to force peace. Forcing peace often becomes another form of pressure. You may sit down and think, "Why am I not calm?" Yet, then the mind creates a new problem from the attempt to relax. A better approach is gentler. You can give the body conditions that make calm more likely. This is important because many people treat mental busyness only as a thinking problem. They believe they must find the perfect mindset. They try to control every thought. They become frustrated when the mind keeps moving. But the mind is connected to the body. A tired body can create anxious thoughts. A tense body can create urgent thoughts. A hungry body can create negative thoughts. A body that has been overstimulated all day can create restless thoughts at night. This does not mean your thoughts are meaningless. It means they are not always accurate messages about your life. Sometimes they are signals of physical overload. For example, imagine someone coming home after a normal workday. Nothing terrible happened. No crisis. No major conflict. But all day, they answered messages, switched tasks, listened to people, made decisions, and tried to stay polite. When they finally sit down, their mind starts moving. They think about a small mistake from the afternoon. Then they think about bills. Then they think about their future. Then they remember something they forgot to buy. Then they wonder why they feel behind in life. From the outside, it looks like overthinking. Inside the body, it may be delayed stress. The brain spent the whole day managing input. The nervous system stayed alert through many small demands. At night, when there is nothing else to do, all that stored activation begins to show itself as thought. The person may say, "Why can't I just relax?" But the body is not refusing rest. It is slowly learning that rest is now allowed. For some people, this takes time because their daily life has trained them to stay ready. If life has been unpredictable, the nervous system may not trust silence right away. If responsibilities have been heavy, the body may think that relaxing is risky. It may believe that if you stop paying attention, something will go wrong. This is why mental busyness can feel protective. It feels uncomfortable, but it also feels like control. Thinking gives the illusion that you are staying ahead of life. The body likes preparation when it does not feel safe. So the mind keeps preparing, even in a quiet room. Understanding this can reduce self-blame. You are not failing at rest. Your system may simply need a clearer transition from effort to recovery. A transition is a bridge. Many people move straight from high stimulation to expected calm. They work, scroll, answer messages, manage family needs. Then expect the mind to become quiet as soon as they lie down. But the nervous system needs a bridge between those states. A bridge might be 10 minutes of low light. It might be putting the phone away before bed. It might be writing down tomorrow's first task, so the brain does not keep repeating it. It might be stretching the neck and shoulders, not as exercise, but as a signal that holding tension is no longer needed. The details matter less than the message. The message is, the day is no longer demanding quick reaction. Your body needs to hear that message more than once. At first, it may not believe it. You may create a calm routine and still feel busy inside. That does not mean the routine failed. It means the system is learning. A nervous system that has spent years staying alert will not always soften in one evening. Calm is not always instant. Often, it is trained. Quiet repetition teaches the body what safety feels like. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. One long relaxation session may help for a short time, but small repeated signals can change the baseline of the body. A regular closing rhythm can become familiar. The brain begins to connect certain actions with lower demand. The body starts to expect less pressure at certain times. The mind slowly receives fewer emergency signals from the muscles, breath, and senses. Then thoughts may still come, but they do not arrive with the same force. They become easier to notice, easier to let pass, easier to write down and leave for tomorrow. The aim is not an empty mind. An empty mind is not always realistic. The brain naturally produces thoughts. It reviews, predicts, connects, and imagines. That is part of being human. The real change is reducing the sense of internal emergency. When the nervous system settles, a thought can simply be a thought. It does not need to become a full meeting inside your head. It does not need to become a late-night investigation. It can appear, be noticed, and lose strength. This is what a calmer body gives the mind. It gives thoughts less fuel. If your mind feels busy tonight, look at the body first. Notice the jaw. Notice the shoulders. Notice the speed of your movements. Notice whether the room is bright, whether the phone is near, whether your breathing is shallow, whether you are still acting like the day is not finished. Do not judge what you find. Just observe the signals. A busy mind may be asking for a safer body, a slower room, and a clearer ending to the day. Nothing may be happening outside, but inside, your system may still be coming down from everything that already happened. Give it time to land. A quiet life moment does not always create a quiet mind immediately, but with steady signals, the body can begin to understand that it no longer needs to stand guard. And when the body stops standing guard, the mind has less reason to keep running. A busy mind is not always caused by a serious problem. Sometimes it is caused by small pieces of attention being pulled in too many directions. One small message, one short video, one quick check, one half-open thought. None of them feels heavy alone, but together they make the mind feel crowded. This is one reason quiet moments can feel uncomfortable. When nothing is happening outside, the mind suddenly notices how scattered it has become inside. The room is quiet, but the brain is still moving from one thing to another. It is waiting for the next signal, the next sound, the next small reason to react. The phone plays a big role in this. Not because the phone is bad by itself. A phone is useful. It helps you work, connect, search, remember, and organize your life. But the way we use it can train the brain to expect constant change. You check one notification. Then you check the weather. Then you open a message. Then you look at one video. Then another thought appears, and you search something quickly. A few minutes later, your body is in the same place. But your attention has traveled through many different worlds. News, people, opinions, images, reminders, prices, messages, and problems that do not even belong to you. The mind does not always know how to return from that quickly. It is like walking into a room where many people are talking at the same time. Even after you leave the room, the noise can stay with you for a while. Your ears are quiet, but your system is still adjusting. Attention works in a similar way. Every time something changes on a screen, the brain receives a small signal. Something new appeared. Something might matter. Something might be useful. Something might be dangerous. Something might be rewarding. The brain was built to notice change. For most of human history, noticing change helped people survive. A sound in the grass, a shift in the weather, a face looking angry, a sudden movement nearby. The brain learned to pay attention because change could mean safety or danger. Today, change is everywhere. A screen can give your brain hundreds of tiny changes in a few minutes. New colors, new words, new images, new comments, new faces, new problems, new suggestions. The brain responds. It does not calmly say, "This is just a phone." It reacts to novelty. It follows movement. It checks for meaning. It tries to decide what matters. This creates attention fragmentation. Attention fragmentation means your focus is broken into small pieces. You may still be sitting still. You may not be doing anything difficult, but your mind has been trained to jump quickly from one point to another. After a while, stillness starts to feel strange. You sit down with a cup of tea, but after a few seconds your hand reaches for the phone. You open a book, but your mind wants to check something. You try to rest, but rest feels too plain. You lie in bed, and silence feels almost too empty. This does not mean you are weak. It means your attention has been living in a fast environment. The mind adapts to the rhythm it repeats. If it repeats rushing, it becomes good at rushing. If it repeats checking, it becomes good at checking. If it repeats switching, it becomes good at switching. Then, when you ask it to become quiet, it may not know what to do. This is why a peaceful room does not always create a peaceful mind. The outside environment may be calm, but the inner rhythm may still be fast. Your body sits down, but your attention keeps searching. It looks for the next thing to process because that has become familiar. Dopamine is part of this pattern. Dopamine is often described as a pleasure chemical, but that is too simple. It is also connected to motivation, wanting, seeking, and expecting. It helps the brain move towards something that might be rewarding. When you scroll, check, refresh, or click, the brain can enter a seeking mode. Maybe there will be a useful message. Maybe there will be something interesting. Maybe there will be a small emotional reward. Maybe there will be something new. This maybe is powerful. The brain is very sensitive to uncertain rewards. When the reward is not guaranteed, the mind may keep checking. This is why a person can open an app without a clear reason. The reason is not always information. Sometimes the reason is the feeling that something might be there. Over time, the mind can become busy even before anything happens. It waits. It expects. It prepares to react. It keeps a small part of itself open, just in case. This is one reason you may feel mentally tired after doing almost nothing. You may say, "I only rested today." But maybe your attention did not rest. Maybe it moved through dozens of small inputs. Maybe it answered messages, compared lives, watched arguments, checked updates, and carried little pieces of other people's emotions. The body counts that. The nervous system counts that. The mind counts that. Even small inputs can leave small traces. A message from someone can change your mood for an hour. A short video can make you compare your life. A headline can make the future feel unsafe. A comment can stay in your mind longer than you expected. A task reminder can reopen a worry you were trying to close. These are not dramatic events. But the mind does not need drama to become busy. It only needs many open loops. An open loop is something your mind has started but not finished. A message you need to reply to. A bill you need to check. A small mistake you want to fix. A video idea you want to remember. A conversation you are still thinking about. A plan you have not decided. A question you searched but did not fully answer. Each one remains like a small tab in the mind. You may close the phone, but the tabs stay open inside. This is why the mind can feel crowded at night. During the day, there was enough noise to cover the crowd. At night, the world becomes quieter, and the mind finally hears itself. It begins to replay what it touched. It remembers the unfinished things. It returns to emotional moments. It tries to organize scattered pieces. But because there are too many pieces, the organizing itself becomes tiring. Many people try to solve this by adding more stimulation. They feel uncomfortable, so they watch something. They feel restless, so they scroll. They feel bored, so they check another app. For a moment, this works. The mind gets a new object to hold. But after the stimulation ends, the quiet feels even harder. The brain has moved faster, not slower. This is similar to eating something very sweet and then trying to enjoy plain water. The water is not bad. It is necessary. But after strong sweetness, plainness feels empty for a while. Stillness can feel the same. Stillness is not the problem. The contrast is the problem. When the brain is used to high-speed input, normal life can feel too slow. Folding laundry feels boring. Sitting in silence feels strange. Walking without headphones feels unfinished. Eating without a screen feels like something is missing. But what is missing is not always entertainment. Sometimes what is missing is tolerance for quiet. Quiet is a skill the mind can lose. It is also a skill the mind can rebuild. The goal is not to throw away technology or live perfectly. That would not be realistic for most people. The goal is to understand the connection between input and mental noise. Your mind cannot feel clear if it is constantly being interrupted. It cannot settle if it is always being invited somewhere else. It cannot finish thoughts if new thoughts keep entering before the old ones close. One small change is to notice the first few minutes of quiet. When you sit down and feel the urge to check something, pause for a moment. Do not fight the urge as if it is an enemy. Just notice it clearly. The mind is asking for stimulation because stimulation has become familiar. That moment of noticing matters. It creates a small space between impulse and action. You may still check your phone sometimes. That is normal. But the pause teaches the mind that not every urge needs an immediate response. Another helpful change is to reduce unfinished digital loops. Before resting, answer what truly needs an answer. Write down what can wait. Close the tabs that are only creating mental noise. Put one simple note somewhere visible if there is something important for tomorrow. The mind relaxes more easily when it trusts that important things will not be forgotten. Many people do not need more discipline first. They need fewer open loops. They need fewer signals entering the mind during moments that are supposed to be quiet. They need a clearer boundary between input time and rest time. A boundary can be simple. For example, after dinner, you can choose one place where the phone stays for 10 minutes. Not all night. Not forever. Just 10 minutes. During that time, you let the room be what it is. At first, the mind may feel louder. This does not mean the quiet is failing. It means the noise was already there, and now you can hear it. If you stay with it gently, the brain begins to learn a slower rhythm. The first minute may feel restless. The second minute may feel plain. The third minute may feel slightly more possible. Small quiet moments teach the mind that nothing bad happens when nothing is happening. This is important. A busy mind often treats quiet like danger. It thinks, if I stop checking, I might miss something. It thinks, if I am not doing something, I am falling behind. It thinks, if nothing is happening, I should create movement. But life does not need constant movement to be safe. There are moments when nothing needs to be solved. There are moments when the brain can stop collecting. There are moments when the body can be in one room, and the mind can slowly return to the same room. This return is not instant. You cannot spend all day switching and then demand perfect peace at night. The mind needs a transition. It needs fewer signals. It needs small endings. It needs to feel that the day is not still attacking it with unfinished information. So when your mind feels busy, even though nothing is happening, look gently at what has been happening to your attention. Maybe nothing big happened, but maybe too many small things entered. Maybe your attention has been touched too many times. Maybe your brain is still expecting the next change. The solution begins with making life a little less jumpy. One less check, one fewer open tab, one quiet meal, one walk without extra noise, one evening note that lets tomorrow wait until tomorrow. These are small actions, but they change the rhythm of the mind. A calm mind is not built only by thinking calm thoughts. It is also built by protecting attention from too many unnecessary signals. When attention becomes less scattered, the mind does not have to work so hard to feel normal. It can sit with one thing. It can finish one thought. It can let silence become familiar again. And slowly, the quiet stops feeling empty. It starts to feel like space. Mina woke up on Sunday with no alarm. The room was soft with morning light, and the street outside was quiet. There was no meeting to attend, no urgent email to send, no place she had to be. For a few seconds, she thought the day would feel peaceful. Then her mind began. She remembered a message she had not answered. She remembered laundry in the washer from last night. She remembered a bill that was probably due soon, though she could not remember the exact date. She remembered a sentence from a conversation on Friday and wondered if she had sounded cold. Nothing was happening, but inside her head, many things were already moving. She stayed in bed and looked at the ceiling. The house was still. Her body was tired, but her mind felt as if it had opened too many doors at once. Each door led to a small, unfinished thing. She reached for her phone. There was no clear reason. She was not expecting anything important. But her hand moved before she decided. The screen lit up, and the quiet room changed. A weather alert. 2 messages. A sale from a store she barely remembered visiting. A photo from someone's weekend trip. A short video someone had shared. She checked one thing, then another. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. The day had not even started, but her attention already felt used. When she finally stood up, she noticed the heaviness behind her eyes. She walked to the kitchen and made coffee. While the water heated, she looked around. A plate from last night sat near the sink. A jacket was hanging on the back of a chair. A notebook was open on the table, with 3 words written at the top of a page. Call insurance tomorrow. The words were simple, but they made her chest tighten slightly. She poured coffee into a mug and stood by the counter. Outside the window, a neighbor was walking a dog. The morning looked calm and ordinary. She wanted to feel the same way. But her mind was not in the kitchen. It was in tomorrow. It was in Friday's conversation. It was in the unread message. It was in the washer. It was in the phone. It was in a future she had not planned yet. She sat at the table and opened her laptop. She told herself she would only check one thing. But the laptop had its own memory. Old tabs waited for her. A half-read article. A shopping cart. A document with a title but no content. A calendar page. A video paused in the middle. Each tab looked harmless. Each one belonged to some earlier version of her who had planned to come back later. Now all those earlier moments had gathered in one place. She closed one tab, then opened another. She forgot why she had opened the laptop in the first place. The coffee became lukewarm. By noon, Mina had done many small things but finished almost nothing. She moved the laundry to the dryer. She replied to one message but left another unanswered because it needed more thought. She wiped the counter but stopped when she found an old receipt. She put the receipt near her notebook so she would not forget it. Then the notebook reminded her of the insurance call again. She walked to the living room and sat down. The room was quiet. Still, her mind felt crowded. This was the strange part. She was not having a bad day. No one was angry with her. Nothing serious had happened. There was food in the fridge, light through the window, and enough time to rest. But rest would not arrive. She turned on a show, hoping it would make the room feel easier. The show played for 15 minutes before she realized she had not followed the story. Her eyes were on the screen, but her mind had kept moving somewhere else. She paused it. The silence returned. She did not like the silence at first. It made her aware of how tired she was. It made the small thoughts louder. It made her notice the pressure in her jaw and the tightness in her shoulders. She looked at the coffee table. There were 3 things on it: the remote, her phone, and a small notebook she had bought months ago. She had bought it because she liked the idea of being organized. Most of the pages were still empty. She picked it up. At first, she did not write anything. She only held the pen and looked at the page. Her mind wanted to do something more useful. It wanted a perfect plan. It wanted to solve everything at once. But she did not have the energy for that. So she wrote one line. Things still open. Then she wrote slowly. Reply to Hannah. Insurance call. Laundry. Receipt. Groceries. Ask about schedule. Pay bill. Clean desk. Friday conversation. She stopped after that. The list was not beautiful. It did not fix anything. But something changed when the thoughts moved from her head to the paper. They became smaller. They looked less like fog and more like objects. She read the list again. Some things were real tasks. Some were only feelings. The Friday conversation was not something she could solve with a phone, call, or a payment. It was just a thought asking for space. She drew a small line under the list. Then she wrote another line. Today, only 3. She chose laundry, groceries, and the bill. The insurance call could wait. The message to Hannah could wait until evening. The receipt could stay in the notebook. The conversation from Friday did not need a decision right now. For the first time that day, the room felt a little more still. Not perfectly peaceful, just less crowded. Mina stood up and took the laundry out of the dryer. She folded clothes slowly on the bed. Normally, she would play something while folding. A video, a podcast, a show, anything to fill the space. This time, she did not. At first, the quiet felt awkward. Her mind searched for a sound. It reached toward the phone without her hand moving. Then, after a few minutes, the rhythm of folding became enough. A shirt, a towel, a pair of socks, another shirt. The task was simple, and because it was simple, her mind did not need to stretch in many directions. It could stay with one movement at a time. Later, she went to the grocery store. The store was not peaceful. There were carts, voices, bright lights, and people standing in the middle of aisles. But it still felt easier than the morning because she had a short list. Milk, eggs, bananas, rice, soap. She did not wander through every aisle. She did not try to remember everything from memory. She followed the list, paid, and went home. One finished loop. That was what it felt like. A loop had closed. At home, she put the groceries away and paid the bill. It took less than 4 minutes. The task had sat in her mind for days, making quiet moments feel uneasy. But the actual action was small. This made her feel both relieved and a little sad. She realized how often small, unfinished things had been taking more space than they deserved. Not because they were difficult, but because they were floating. They had no place. They had no time. They had no clear ending. By late afternoon, the apartment looked almost the same. There was still a jacket on the chair. The desk was still messy. The insurance call was still waiting for tomorrow. Her life had not been transformed. But the day felt different. There were fewer loose pieces moving inside her. She made a simple dinner and ate without watching anything. She did not do this to become a better person. She did it because her mind already felt full, and she did not want to pour more into it. The first few minutes felt plain. Then the food began to taste clearer. She noticed the warmth of the bowl in her hand. She noticed the sound of the spoon. She noticed the evening light changing on the wall. Nothing special happened. That was the point. Nothing special needed to happen. After dinner, she replied to Hannah. The message took longer than expected because she wanted to sound kind and clear. When she sent it, another loop closed. Then she looked at the line about Friday's conversation. She did not know what to do with it. There was no clear task, no button to press, no form to submit. Just a memory with a little emotional weight. So she wrote one more sentence. Maybe I was tired, not rude. She looked at the sentence for a while. It did not prove anything. It did not erase the thought, but it gave the thought another possible shape. The mind had been treating the memory like a problem. Maybe it was only a tired moment. She closed the notebook. The evening became quiet again. This time, the quiet did not feel as sharp. Mina still had thoughts. Her mind did not become empty. It still moved toward tomorrow, toward messages, toward little worries waiting at the edge of the day. But the movement was slower. It was no longer a crowd pushing from every direction. Before bed, she placed the phone on the table across the room. Not as a strict rule, just as a way to give the night a little distance from the screen. She turned off the main light. The room became simple. A bed, a blanket, a glass of water, a notebook on the table. She lay down and listened to the low sound of the building around her. A pipe moved somewhere in the wall. A car passed outside. Someone closed a door in the hallway. Her mind was still awake, but now it had fewer places to run. She thought about the day and noticed something small. The busiest part had not been the laundry, the groceries, or the bill. The busiest part had been carrying everything without a place to put it. Once the thoughts had a page, the day became less heavy. Once the tasks had a limit, the mind stopped trying to hold the whole week. Once the phone was farther away, the room felt less demanding. She did not fall asleep immediately, but she no longer felt chased by a day that had looked empty from the outside. She was simply there, in a quiet room, with tomorrow written down and tonight allowed to be smaller. And for Mina, that was enough for one Sunday. Sometimes the mind feels busy because the room is speaking too loudly. Not with sound, with objects. A jacket on the chair can say, "Put me away." A cup beside the bed can say, "Clean me." A stack of papers can say, "Decide what I am." A phone on the table can say, "Check me." An open laptop can say, "There is still more to do." The room may be silent, but the mind hears all of these small messages. This is why physical space matters. A messy space does not make a person bad or lazy. Life becomes full. People come home tired. Things get placed where they are easiest to place. One busy day leaves a few objects behind, and then another day adds more. Soon, the room becomes a map of unfinished decisions. The mind has to look at that map every time it enters the space. Even if you are not consciously thinking about it, your brain is still noticing. It sees the laundry basket. It sees the bills on the counter. It sees the bag you need to return. It sees the tools, cables, notes, dishes, receipts, boxes, and reminders. Each item asks for a little attention. Not enough to become a clear task, just enough to create mental friction. Mental friction is the feeling that everything takes slightly more effort than it should. Sitting down does not feel simple. Starting one task feels heavy. Resting feels uncomfortable because the space around you keeps reminding you of work. This is why some people feel calmer in a hotel room. The room is not perfect because it is beautiful. It is calming because it is simple. There are fewer unfinished stories, fewer personal objects asking for action, fewer reminders of the past week. A simple space gives the mind fewer things to manage. Your home does not need to look like a hotel. That would be unrealistic and cold for many people. A home has children, work bags, food, clothes, mail, tools, toys, and real life. A calm space does not mean an empty space. It means a space with fewer open signals. An open signal is anything in your environment that tells your brain, "This is not finished." A pile of papers is an open signal. A half-packed bag is an open signal. An unpaid bill on the fridge is an open signal. A screen full of browser tabs is an open signal. A visible work laptop at night is an open signal. A notification light is an open signal. The brain does not always ignore these signals just because you want to relax. It keeps scanning them. It keeps measuring them. It keeps asking, "Is this important? Should I deal with this now? What will happen if I forget?" This scanning creates background noise. It is quiet, but it costs energy. Imagine trying to rest in a room where every object has a tiny voice. None of the voices are loud, but together, they make silence difficult. This is what happens when your space holds too many unfinished cues. The solution is not to clean everything at once. That idea can create more pressure. When the mind is already busy, a full cleaning project may feel impossible. You look around and think, "There is too much." Then you avoid it, and the room continues to speak. A better beginning is to lower the number of signals. Choose one small area, not the whole house, not the whole room. One surface, a desk, a nightstand, a kitchen counter, a chair that has become a storage place. One surface can change how the mind feels. When one area becomes clear, the brain receives a different message. It says, "Here, there is less to manage." That small clear area becomes a place where attention can land. This is especially helpful at night. Many people try to relax in the same place where they work. Scroll, worry, eat, and plan. The brain becomes confused. The space has no clear meaning. A bed becomes a place for messages. A couch becomes a place for work emails. A table becomes a place for bills and meals and unfinished tasks. The mind learns from location. If you always work in bed, the bed starts to feel mentally active. If you always scroll on the couch starts to invite checking. If your desk is covered with unfinished reminders, sitting there can create stress before you even begin. This does not mean you need a large home or perfect separation. Many people live in small spaces. Many people share rooms. Many people do not have a separate office. The point is not the size of the space. The point is the signal attached to the space. Even a small corner can have a clear purpose. A chair can become a reading chair. A small table can become a planning table. A drawer can become the place where papers wait. A basket can become the place for things that need decisions later. When objects have a home, the mind does not have to keep holding them. This is one of the hidden reasons clutter feels tiring. Clutter is not only visual. It is decision debt. Decision debt means decisions you have delayed but still carry. Where should this go? Should I keep this? Do I need this receipt? When should I answer this letter? Is this important? Can I throw this away? Every delayed decision takes a little space in the mind. The more delayed decisions you see around you, the more your mind feels busy. So the question is not, how do I make my space perfect? The better question is, which decisions can I remove from my eyes? You can put papers in one folder. You can put small loose items in one box. You can put tomorrow's task on one note instead of leaving 5 objects as reminders. You can clear the place where you rest, even if other places are still messy. This is not hiding from responsibility. It is giving the nervous system a cleaner field of view. The brain relaxes more easily when it can see a boundary. A boundary says, work is here. A boundary says, rest is here. A boundary says, this can wait. A boundary says, I do not need to think about everything in every room. Digital space needs the same care. A phone can become a pocket-sized room full of unfinished signals. Red badges, unread emails, open apps, saved videos, screenshots, reminders, group chats, and news alerts all sit inside one small screen. When you unlock it, your mind enters that room. If the digital room is noisy, your attention becomes noisy too. You may only want to check the time, but the screen shows a message. The message leads to an app. The app leads to another thought. A few minutes later, the mind is far away from the original reason. This is not a personal failure. It is design. Many digital spaces are designed to pull attention from one thing to another. They make it easy to enter and harder to leave. They keep offering one more item, one more update, one more reason to stay. So your environment is not only your room. It is also your screen. If your mind feels busy, look at what your eyes meet every day. Look at your desk. Look at your phone home screen. Look at your notification settings. Look at the place where you try to sleep. Look at the first thing you see in the morning. Look at the last thing you see before bed. These details shape the rhythm of the mind more than people realize. A calmer environment does not force peace. It invites it. It removes some of the pressure that keeps the mind alert. It makes fewer demands. It gives the brain fewer reasons to scan, compare, remember, and react. One helpful practice is the closing ritual. A closing ritual is a small action that tells your mind the active part of the day is ending. It does not need to be spiritual or complicated. You can clear one surface. You can write tomorrow's first task on paper. You can plug your phone in away from the bed. You can close the laptop and place it somewhere you do not see from your pillow. You can put all loose papers into one folder called tomorrow. The name does not matter. The message matters. The message is, The day has a place to stop. Many busy minds are not truly asking for more thinking. They are asking for an ending. They want to know what is finished, what can wait, and where tomorrow begins. Without an ending, the mind keeps working in the background. It keeps trying to hold the open pieces of the day. It keeps scanning the room for reminders. Because the room has not given it permission to stop. A small environmental change can give that permission. For example, imagine a desk at night. Before the closing ritual, the desk has a laptop open, a cup, 3 receipts, a pen without a cap, a notebook, a charger, and a piece of mail. When you look at it, your mind does not see objects. It sees unfinished life. Now imagine taking 2 minutes. The cup goes to the sink. The receipts go into one drawer. The laptop closes. The notebook stays, but only with one written line for tomorrow. The pen rests beside it. The desk is not perfect, but it is quieter. The mind can feel the difference. This is why small order can feel emotionally larger than it looks. You are not only moving objects. You are reducing requests. You are lowering the number of things asking for attention. You are telling your brain, there is less to track right now. The same idea works with sound. A television playing in the background can keep the mind half engaged. A podcast in every quiet moment can prevent thoughts from settling. Constant music can sometimes help, but sometimes it becomes another layer the brain has to process. Silence may feel uncomfortable at first, but the mind needs some moments without input to digest the day. You do not have to remove all sound. You only need to notice whether the sound is helping you settle or helping you avoid. There is a difference. Some sounds soften the room. Others keep the mind awake. Light also matters. Bright light late at night can tell the body that the day is still active. A screen close to the face can keep the brain alert. A room full of harsh light can make rest feel less natural. Lowering the light is a simple signal. It tells the body, the day is becoming smaller. This physical message can reach places that thinking cannot reach. You can tell yourself to calm down many times and still feel tense. But when the room becomes simpler, darker, and quieter, the body receives calm through the senses. The body believes patterns more than words. If every night looks like more work, more scrolling, more bright light, and more open tabs, the body prepares for more activity. If every night has a small closing rhythm, the body slowly learns that evening means release. This learning takes time. At first, a clear desk may not change everything. A quiet phone may feel strange. A dark room may make thoughts louder for a few minutes. But repetition teaches the mind that quiet is safe. The environment becomes a teacher. It teaches the brain where to focus. It teaches the body when to slow down. It teaches attention that not every object needs to become a thought. If your mind feels busy even when nothing is happening, do not only ask what is wrong inside you. Ask what your environment is asking from you. Ask what your phone is inviting. Ask what your room is reminding you of. Ask what unfinished signals are sitting in your line of sight. Then remove one. Only one. Clear one surface. Close one tab. Silence one notification. Put one task on paper. Move one object out of the place where you rest. A busy mind often needs fewer instructions, not more. It needs a space that does not keep pulling on it. When your space becomes a little quieter, your mind does not have to defend itself from so many small demands. It can stop scanning for a moment. It can return to the present room. A calm environment will not solve every worry, but it can stop adding new noise. And sometimes, that is where mental quiet begins. A busy mind does not become quiet through force. Many people try to push thoughts away. They tell themselves to stop thinking. They become frustrated when the mind keeps moving. Then the frustration becomes another thought, and the mind becomes even louder. The goal is not to fight the mind. The goal is to reduce what the mind is trying to carry. When your mind feels busy, even though nothing is happening, it is often trying to protect you, organize you, or prepare you. It may be reviewing old moments so you do not repeat mistakes. It may be planning tomorrow so you do not fall behind. It may be scanning for danger because your body has spent too long in alert mode. This does not mean every thought is useful. It means the mind is not your enemy. A calmer relationship with your mind begins when you stop treating every thought like a command. A thought can appear without needing immediate action. A worry can arrive without becoming a full investigation. A memory can pass through without deciding the meaning of your whole life. This is a skill. It is not a personality trait. Some people seem naturally calm, but often they have habits that reduce mental load. They write things down. They keep fewer open loops. They protect certain quiet moments. They do not let every small signal enter their nervous system. Calm is often built through small systems. One simple system is the evening note. At the end of the day, write down what your mind is still holding. Do not make it beautiful. Do not turn it into a perfect journal. Just give the thoughts somewhere to land. Write the task. Write the worry. Write the reminder. Write the sentence that keeps repeating. Write the thing you are afraid you will forget. The page does not need to solve everything. Its first job is to hold what your mind has been holding alone. Once the thought is written down, the brain receives a small message. This has a place now. It does not have to float. It does not have to keep knocking from inside your head. Then choose what truly belongs to tomorrow. This part matters. A busy mind often treats every thought as equal. The grocery list, the life decision, the unpaid bill, the awkward conversation, the future plan, the small mistake, and the random idea all sit in the same mental room. Everything feels urgent because everything is mixed together. Writing helps you separate them. Some things are tasks. Some things are emotions. Some things are questions. Some things are noise. A task needs a next step. An emotion needs space. A question may need time. Noise may need less attention. When you separate them, the mind becomes less crowded. For example, pay the bill is a task. It can become a clear action. I feel behind in life is not a task. It is an emotional state. If you treat it like a task, you may try to solve your entire future at midnight. That usually makes the mind busier. A helpful question is, what is the next real action? If there is a real action, make it small. Send one message. Put one document in one place. Set one reminder. Prepare one item for morning. Close one tab. If there is no real action, name the feeling without trying to fix it immediately. You might write, I feel uncertain. You might write, I am tired of making decisions. You might write, I am carrying pressure from today. Naming a feeling does not make it disappear, but it gives it shape. A shaped feeling is often easier to sit within a cloud of tension. Another useful shift is to stop waiting for perfect mental silence. Many people think calm means no thoughts. But for most people, the mind will still produce thoughts. That is what minds do. The quiet comes when thoughts no longer pull you in every direction. You can have a thought and still remain here. You can remember something and still feel the chair under your body. You can worry briefly and still return to the room. You can plan tomorrow without letting tomorrow take the whole night. This is a more realistic kind of calm. It is not empty. It is steady. To build this steadiness, give the mind fewer decisions at the edges of the day. Morning and night are especially important. In the morning, the mind is open. If the first thing it receives is messages, news, comparison, and urgency, it may begin the day already scattered. You may not notice it immediately, but your attention has been divided before you even stand up. A small morning boundary can help. Before looking at the phone, do one ordinary thing. Drink water. Open the curtain. Wash your face. Make the bed. Stand by the window for 1 minute. This is not about becoming a perfect person. It is about teaching the brain that the day begins in the real world, not inside a screen. At night, the mind needs a different message. It needs to know that the day is closing. A night boundary can be very simple. Put the phone away from the bed. Write tomorrow's first task. Lower the light. Clear one small surface. Leave one sentence on paper so the mind does not have to repeat it. These actions are small, but they speak to the nervous system. They say, you do not need to keep scanning right now. They say, the important things have been noticed. They say, tomorrow has a place. A busy mind often calms down when it trusts that nothing important will be lost. Trust is built by repetition. If you write things down once, the mind may still worry. If you do it again and again, the mind begins to believe the system. It learns that thoughts placed on paper can be found again. It learns that tomorrow's task will not disappear. It learns that not everything must be held in active memory. This is how mental space returns. Not through one big decision, through many small endings. Another part of calming the mind is learning to let some thoughts remain unfinished. This can be difficult. The mind likes closure. It wants the right answer, the clear plan, the final meaning. It wants to know why someone said something. It wants to know what will happen next. It wants to know whether you made the right choice. But many parts of life do not close on command. Some conversations remain unclear. Some decisions need time. Some feelings soften slowly. Some questions do not need to be answered tonight. A busy mind becomes less powerful when you can say, this is not for now. That sentence is not avoidance when used wisely. It is timing. You are not denying the thought. You are choosing not to give it the whole room at the wrong hour. You can write it down and return to it when your body is rested. This matters because tired thinking often feels urgent, but it is not always accurate. At night, the brain may exaggerate problems. When the body is worn out, small worries can look larger. When you have been stimulated all day, silence can make unfinished thoughts sound more serious than they are. The same thought may feel different in the morning. So instead of solving your life when you are exhausted, create a place for the thought and let the night stay small. Smallness is important. A busy mind often expands everything. One mistake becomes your whole identity. One delayed task becomes proof that you are failing. One quiet evening becomes a debate about your future. One uncomfortable feeling becomes a problem that must be explained. You can gently make the moment smaller. This is one night. This is one task. This is one feeling. This is one thought. This is one room. This is one breath moving in and out. When the mind expands too far, bring it back to what is actually here. The cup on the table, the blanket on the bed, the sound of the fridge, the light near the wall, the paper with tomorrow's note, the body sitting in the room. This kind of attention is not dramatic. It is ordinary. But ordinary attention can be deeply calming because it brings the mind back from imagined places. A busy mind lives in many times at once. The past, where it replays. The future, where it prepares. The digital world, where it reacts. Other people's lives, where it compares. Your own body may be sitting in the present, almost forgotten. Coming back to the present is not about saying the past and future do not matter. They do, but they do not need to occupy every quiet moment. There must be some space where life is allowed to be simple. One useful practice is to create a small landing place. This is a physical place where your mind can return when it feels scattered. It may be one chair, one side of the bed, one corner of a table, or one clear surface near a window. Keep it simple. No pile of papers. No work laptop. No loud screen. No object that asks for an immediate decision. This place becomes a signal. When you sit there, you are not trying to solve everything. You are allowing your system to slow down. You may read a few pages. You may drink tea. You may write one note. You may simply sit for a short time. At first, it may feel like nothing is happening. That is the practice. The mind needs to learn that nothing happening can be safe. Nothing happening can be rest. Nothing happening can be the moment when the body catches up. Nothing happening can be where your attention becomes whole again. You do not need to make the mind empty. You can make the moment less crowded. You can close one loop. You can reduce one signal. You can write one note. You can lower one light. You can choose one task for tomorrow. You can let one thought wait. This is how calm becomes practical. It is not a mood you wait for. It is a condition you create around yourself, little by little. There will still be busy days. There will still be nights when the mind refuses to settle quickly. There will still be moments when you lie down and thoughts arrive one after another. When that happens, do not turn it into a personal failure. Return to the basics. What is my mind holding? What can be written down? What can wait? What signal can I remove? What is one small thing I can finish? What is one thing I do not need to solve tonight? These questions are gentle, but they are strong. They help the mind step out of the fog and into shape. They turn mental noise into something you can see, sort, and soften. Over time, the mind begins to understand. It does not have to hold everything at once. It does not have to answer every thought. It does not have to chase every signal. It does not have to turn every quiet moment into a meeting with fear. A calm mind is not a mind with no movement. It is a mind that knows where to return. So tonight, choose one small ending. Write down tomorrow's first task. Move the phone a little farther away. Clear the surface beside your bed. Turn one bright light off. Let the room become simpler. Let the day become smaller. Then leave the rest where it belongs. Not in your head, not in your chest, not in the quiet minutes before sleep. On paper, in tomorrow, outside the room where you are trying to rest. A busy mind needs kindness, but it also needs boundaries. It needs a place to put things down. It needs fewer doors open at the same time. It needs proof that quiet is not danger. And slowly, through small repeated signals, the mind can learn a different rhythm. A room can be quiet. A body can be still. A thought can pass without being followed. One small lamp can be enough. One written note can be enough. One unfinished thing can wait until morning. And in that simple space, nothing special has to happen. The quiet itself can begin to hold you.